I still remember the morning when my life changed forever. I woke up in my tiny rented room, the ceiling stained with water leaks, my wallet empty, and my hope hanging by a thread. For years, I blamed my parents, the government, my boss, everyone but myself. But that morning, something inside me snapped. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. I realized no one was coming to save me. Napoleon Hill once said, "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." That day, my adversity was poverty, but the seed was my awakening. I dragged myself out of bed, sat on the cold floor, and wrote 3 words in my old notebook. I am responsible. It felt absurd. I had debts, no savings, no connections. But I decided to believe Hill's words. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The first thing I did was study my own mind. Why was I stuck? Why did I fear success? Why did I sabotage every opportunity? Hill taught me that riches begin with a state of mind, not with money in the bank. So I made a list of every limiting belief I had. I'm not good enough. Rich people are greedy. Money is evil. Then I asked myself, who planted these thoughts in my mind? I realized they weren't mine. They were borrowed from my parents, from teachers, from friends who never chased their dreams. That day, I decided to return them. I replaced them with new seeds. I wrote, I deserve wealth. Money is a tool, not an enemy. I will serve others and earn in return. I didn't have a fancy mentor or a rich uncle. My mentor was a dead man, Napoleon Hill, whose words spoke louder than any living person's excuses. Each night, I'd read Think and Grow Rich like scripture. I repeated affirmations until I believed them. I visualized myself shaking hands with powerful people, signing big checks, changing my family's life. But it wasn't just wishing. Hill said, desire backed by faith knows no such word as impossible. So I backed my desire with work. I took 2 jobs, one by day, one by night. I used every free minute to learn sales, to read about investments, to study people richer than me. Slowly, the world responded. Small deals turned into bigger ones. One connection introduced me to another. Within a year, I'd saved my first $10,000, an amount that once seemed impossible. Looking back, I see that the money wasn't the real victory. The real victory was killing the victim inside me. I fired the old poor me from my mind and hired a new boss, the version of me that refused to settle. To this day, when people ask me for the secret, I smile. It's not really a secret. Napoleon Hill wrote it down nearly a century ago. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The question is, do you believe it? Fear used to be my prison. I feared rejection, losing money, looking stupid. I feared what my friends would say if I failed. That fear kept me broke for years. Napoleon Hill warned, fears are nothing more than a state of mind. So I asked myself, what if fear could be my engine, not my cage? I started doing what scared me most. I spoke to people I thought were too big for me. I pitched ideas that made my voice tremble. I invested in projects that made my stomach churn. Every time I acted in spite of fear, I grew stronger. Hill's principle of burning desire became my fuel. I burned my bridges to comfort. I stopped seeking safety and chased growth instead. I remember cold calling my first big client. My hands shook so badly, I almost dropped the phone. But when they said yes, I realized fear was a test. A test most people fail because they never show up for it. Hill taught that one of the main weaknesses of mankind is the average man's familiarity with the word impossible. I banned that word from my vocabulary. I surrounded myself with believers, I cut off negative friends who mocked my goals. I found masterminds, just like Hill preached. A circle of people who wanted more, who didn't laugh at ambition, who pushed me when I slacked. Soon, money stopped being the goal. Freedom became the goal. I used my income to buy back my time, to build systems, hire people smarter than me, multiply my efforts. Some nights, I couldn't sleep. I feared losing it all. But Hill reminded me, a quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. So I didn't quit. Even when deals fell through, when partners betrayed me, when the market crashed. Instead, I doubled down on my mind. I fed it hope, books, ideas, gratitude. I rewired myself daily. And one day, I woke up and realized the same ceiling that dripped water on my face now drips champagne. Not because I'm special, but because I obeyed Hill's simple law. Control your mind, or someone else will control it for you. Today, my family lives the life my parents only dreamed of. But more importantly, I've broken the chain for the next generation. My kids don't hear, "We can't afford it." They hear, "How can we create it?" If you're listening to this, remember, it's not about my story. It's about yours. You hold the same tool I did, your mind. If you master it, wealth is just one of the rewards waiting for you on the other side of fear. Let me tell you a secret that changed my life. Money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. Napoleon Hill's words echoed in my mind for years before I finally understood them. For most of my life, I was a slave to money. I traded my time for scraps, paycheck to paycheck, hoping for a raise that never came. But then, I asked myself, what if I flipped the game? Hill taught that true wealth is not about having a big salary. It's about building assets that work for you, even when you sleep. So I began studying what the wealthy really do. They don't chase more hours, they buy back their time. First, I cut my expenses to the bone. I sold my car and rode a bicycle. I stopped impressing people I didn't like. Every spare dollar went into investments. Stocks at first, then small businesses, then real estate. It was scary. I remember standing at the bank signing my first loan papers, my hands sweating. I was taking a risk with money I didn't even have yet. But I told myself, if you're not willing to risk for your dream, you're already risking your whole life staying poor. Napoleon Hill said, "No man can succeed in a line of endeavor which he does not like." So I invested only in what I understood and believed in. I spent months learning, not just throwing money blindly. I met mentors, asked stupid questions, got rejected by banks, got burned by bad deals, but I learned faster that way. Slowly, something magical happened. My money started coming back to me, multiplied. My first rental property paid my utility bills. My small online store covered my groceries. Then my dividends paid my rent. I realized freedom isn't about having millions in the bank. It's about having your living costs covered by money that never sleeps. Most people spend their entire lives earning money, but never learn how to make money earn for them. That's why they stay stuck. Hill's mastermind principle saved me here too. I built a circle of people smarter than me in different areas: investing, tax planning, negotiating. I never pretended to know everything. I just stayed hungry to learn. As my passive income grew, so did my confidence. I quit my second job, then my first job. I wasn't working for money anymore. Money was working for me. It didn't make me lazy. It made me ambitious. I used my time to build more systems. I helped friends do the same. I created jobs for others. I saw that wealth isn't selfish. It's an amplifier. It makes you more of who you already are. If you're generous, it lets you help more people. If you're selfish, it exposes that too. I chose to be the kind of person my younger self needed. Someone who didn't just preach work hard, but showed how to work smart. Hill taught me that riches come to those who think accurately. And accurate thinking means facing uncomfortable truths. No one is coming to make you rich. You must do it yourself. and then teach others so they can too.
Most people work for money their whole lives.
But money should work for us. That's what Napoleon Hill made me see. I used to chase paychecks. Then I learned to build assets that paid me back. I cut my expenses, invested in my learning, and made my first risky investments: stocks, a rental, a small online store. The first time I signed a loan for my rental property, I was terrified. But I reminded myself, if you're not willing to risk for your dream, you're already risking everything by staying where you are. Slowly, my investments paid my bills: rent, groceries, utilities. Freedom isn't millions in the bank. It's knowing you can live without selling your time every hour. Once my son turned 10, I gave him a small loan, $50 to start a mini business. He sold candy to his classmates. He learned supply and demand, profit, loss, and the value of solving problems. We talk about money like other families talk about chores. We read Think and Grow Rich together every Sunday. We discuss what burning desire means. We share ideas, even silly ones, because big dreams start small. When my kids get pocket money, they split it. Spend some, save some, give some. I want them to see that money is not to be hoarded, but to be grown and shared. Napoleon Hill said, "The greatest of all riches is the richness of the mind." That's the real legacy I'm building. A mindset that creates freedom, not just for me, but for my kids and theirs too. When I'm gone, I hope my children remember, wealth isn't about what you have. It's about what you know and what you believe is possible.